see my life before me, running rings around the way it used to be. I am older now, I have more than what I wanted, but I wish that I had started long before I did. And there's so much time to make up everywhere you turn, time we have wasted on the way. So much water moving underneath the bridge. Let the water come and carry us away. Oh, when you were young, did you question all the answers? Did you envy all the dancers who had all the nerve? Look around you now, you must go for what you wanted. Look at all my friends who did and got what they deserve. So much time to make up everywhere you turn, time we have wasted on the way. So much water moving underneath the bridge. Let the water come and carry us away.
Well, give the Lord a praise. Come on. Give God a praise. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you guys. So, you know, I just like the Saturday night crowd. I don't know. It's kind of the same ones that come on Saturday nights. I'm kind of used to seeing the same mugs that are normally here. So it's nice. It's good stuff. Good stuff. It will be, Dave, I think 20 years next year. I was looking at the records, so we're kind of almost at that 20-year mark. That needs to be some kind of an anniversary, right? Something like some kind of plaque or some little cheap watch, or I'm just saying. Seems like we need to have something going. Anyways, I want to take a minute to just thank all of you guys for all these years that you have been behind not just me as a person, but what I do. I'm one of those kind of guys that who I am and what I do really isn't separate. It's kind of one and the same. As you see in the video, it has been a very interesting run for us. I've been in the ministry now almost 50 years. And after you've worked with Christians for 50 years and you haven't killed one, I just think that personally that ought to be a plaque right there, I think. So it's like this, I need to be getting all these awards. I got nothing. But anyways, it's always good to be here. Last week we had 100. Turn me up just a notch, guys, on the sound. All right, is that, oh, I'm sorry. I know you, right? Yeah, okay. All right. I won't yell at you too bad tonight. That sounds good. Very nice. We had 154,000 in Sunday school last week. That's never been done in world history. We're very aware of what God is doing, and I don't say that as the typical ministerial little colloquialism that preachers like to use. We are very aware. We are very conscious of what's going on and what you guys have done to play a part in that, because you have. And I wish I could say every church that I go to has played a bigger part as you guys have, but they haven't. There's times when I know I'm going to go into a church the first time. The minute I walk in the door, I know I ain't going back there again. And I don't. And they don't invite me either. And so it's kind of a mutual thing. But there's been this unique connection that I've had with you and your kids over all these years. I think for a number of reasons. First reason is the foundation that has been laid here. I don't know if all of you know how rare a place like this is in California. Apparently you don't. So let me stop there for a minute and enlighten some of you folks. Okay? For churches to spend this kind of money on what has just happened here the last couple of days, I don't know if any of you have any idea what those buses cost out there. You may want to ask some questions about that and understand the commitment and the investment that this church has made in a generation where most churches have no clue of what that even takes, because it's all about the adults, because the adults pay the bills. Let's face it, folks. You all know how this game plays. They cater to the folks. A lot of churches are run by the Board of Demons, and everybody's got their own little ideas and their own little idiosyncrasies of what they think is important, and it's all about them. It's not about you. I should have brought my fish tonight. I should have brought the fish. I'll bring it tomorrow. The fish is resting tonight, but he will return tomorrow. That doesn't mean anything to some of you, but some of you it does. So this church has invested in a generation that is going to go way farther than most of you. And in a time that we live in this country, and we were a couple, me and the guys were joking in the back, I am not going to get political tonight. I made a decision. I wasn't going to, but I'm feeling it now. Starting to stir. I try not to use the pulpit as a bully pulpit. You guys know I've been involved in politics, working with George Bush Sr., spent quite a bit of time in Washington, probably more time than I should have. And now all of you know that this election coming up next year is going to be extremely critical. Okay? Okay, nobody's listening over here, so let me talk to you. Okay? This election, guys, as you all know, this is big time now. This is big time. I don't get thrown off much. I mean, I've seen way too much stuff with all the people I've seen killed and all the stuff that I deal with. I don't get rattled a lot. But when I saw the White House in all the rainbow colors, I don't know if that affected you guys like it affected me. I cried. I cried. Now, I'm 66 years old, folks. I've lived just long enough to watch this country go through a lot of transition. A lot of transition. And I don't know how some of you feel about all that. And honestly, I really don't care. Because after you're 66 and you've been shot in the head and you've been in 3 plane crashes, you don't have to care about much. I'm just thrilled I woke up today and I'm just here. To me, that just, and I know California is probably a little more tolerant than most places. I, on the other hand, am not. I can't even spell intolerant. And if I was, I wouldn't be. You say, well, that doesn't, folks, this country was founded on some very solid biblical principles. And for some strange reason, just like the fall of the old Roman Empire, a lot of people seem to forget what brought greatness to a nation and to a culture and to a people. So that has nothing to do with the message tonight, but I just wanted to say it to somebody, and you're the only ones I'm going to be with tonight. So you just got it. Because I was just irritated, and I just needed to get it off my shoulders. So people say, well, you shouldn't talk about that kind of stuff. Well, when you get the microphone, you can talk about what you want. Isn't that great? Whoever's got the microphone gets to do what they want. And that's a good thing. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about that. Maybe, at least for a little while. I'll be back there at the table. You guys know how I do. I hang out there for as long as I need to. We were trying to find a place to eat afterwards tonight, and so we're working on that. The new book, Running with Turtles, specifically designed for Southern California folks. Just throwing it out there, folks. Just throwing it out there, okay? You ever have people tell you, hey, you need to slow down. You're doing too much, you know? So I wrote this book, if for no other reason, you get the book, and when somebody tells you you're too involved in church and you're too solid in your beliefs, then you pick up the book and you just hit them in the head with it. This is made with extra thick paper and an extra thick cover. So if you need a little weapon, and it's good reading material, but if somebody in your life just need to be smacked in Jesus' name, this is your smacker right here. Okay? Good. I want to give this one away to somebody. Okay? There you go. There you go. See, that's what you get when you sit on the front row. You guys that sit in the back, you get nothing. Okay. Oh, come on, Jesus. Come on. The Teflon. We're sold out of a couple of the books, but I think we've got some of the turtles. I think we've got the Teflon rhino. If you're going to make it in life, you got to have skin thick as a rhino made out of Teflon. Nothing sticks to you. Nothing sticks. That's why I can still do this and still love God's people. Because I love all y'all. All y'all. See, no matter what, I can just, doesn't matter. It's just, see, you got to toughen up a little bit. Folks aren't very tough. People get offended out here easily. The littlest, dopiest thing, when they get all, this one isn't quite as good as that one for hitting people, but it will work if necessary. We're in a war, folks. All of you know that. All of you understand that. I don't know how many of you have not seen the beheadings on the internet. If you have not, it would do you well to see it, to look at it, to understand what's coming your way. See, y'all are pretty isolated out here, a little insulated. I get that. I spend enough time out here. But it's coming your way, folks. There are people that want to kill us. We all understand that, right? Everybody got that? Okay. If you have not looked at that, you may want to look at it. I've seen 2 people get their heads cut off in front of me. I'm not just another preacher that gets up and runs his mouth. This is my life. I go to those parts of the world. I wear the bulletproof vest and carry a gun when I preach. So I'm not up here just running my mouth just to run it. I understand very well what we are dealing with. We were actually expecting a little bit of trouble here. I have a couple of men with me on this trip. You know, I usually travel alone. I didn't on this one because we stirred up a little trouble at a radical Muslim mosque in Brooklyn. And there was a good possibility it could have followed me out here. So, hey, it might get exciting tonight. So I may need some help from some of you guys. But I think we can handle it. I think whatever comes our way can handle it. And for those of you that are sissies, then we'll just step over you and get on with it. All right? But this is real life, folks. You all know America's changed because the world has changed. The world has changed. And if we're going to take and develop the next generation as being young men and young women that are people of character, that are people of conviction, that are people of the truth, that still believe the Bible is the true Word of God, that it is the compass, it's going to take churches just like this, which are a rare breed anymore, unfortunately. But I wanted to say that because you are a part of a church that has held a straight and narrow, has held a course in the midst of a place that doesn't do that much. So, Dave, I salute you, my friend. Brother, I salute you. I thank you. I thank you for the stand that you have taken and for all of you that are a part of that. There's some DVDs out there. I'm not going to say much about that. Pastor's already talked about the sponsorship. Many of you have sponsored kids over the years. You have been faithful in your commitment. I thank you for that. You are really the ones that keep that connection between real life and somebody that really cares. And kids that were like me, when my mother left me, I had nobody until that one Christian man stopped. Most of you know my personal story. That is what has put Metro in the position worldwide now with governments, with political organizations. We have this voice that's a bit unusual because people have seen we have done what we said we were going to do. Do you guys have the picture of the little girl sitting on the tile floor? I wanted to show this. This gal, I was talking to the kids about her the other night. This little girl's from Ethiopia, and her parents were hoping for a boy, got her name's Rosie, and kept her for a while, and then just decided they didn't want her anymore. So they took her out, chained her to a tree in the bush. They'd starved her pretty well, and then they tied her up. And after these kids die, the animals come and eat them. I'd gotten to the orphanage. Someone told me they'd heard about her, hadn't found her. So I said, man, let's go. So we jumped in the Jeep. We're driving around for a couple hours. Finally find her, chained to the tree. Went back to the orphanage, got a hacksaw, came back. We cut her loose, took her in. I took the shot at the orphanage myself because I knew somehow we were going to help her. Didn't know how. You know, you guys know, when you see something and it connects with you, you have a choice. You curse the darkness or you light the candle. That's your choice. You can look at something like this and go, well, what can we do? Yeah, you can do plenty. Cut her loose, brought her back. And I was there for a couple of days and I went to Dallas. I was speaking at a pastor's school in Dallas. And I'd mentioned Rosie, and I'd actually taken her picture and put it in the folder, like you'll see at the table, for folks to be able to sponsor that individual kid. And a family came up. They said, we want to sponsor her. I said, look, I'm not a doctor, but when a kid is this far gone, sometimes they make it back, sometimes they don't. I said, I can't guarantee you that you'll have her in your life for long. She said, we want to do our part. So they signed up, and they went the extra mile as a sponsor. I mean, there's folks that jump in and they help, and there's others that are really with it. They jumped in. And I got back to Ethiopia 6 months later, found Rosie, of course. Get the next picture, guys, after 6 months. Come on, give God a praise. That is that's what can happen when people choose to light the candle. That's the only way I can explain it. One person really can make a difference. And the real reality is that 154,000 that was in Sunday school last week, you know why that really happened? You know how that really came about? When that one Christian stopped and picked me up off the street in 1961. That's what did what? It put it in motion. You with me? Yeah. Put it in motion. I'm the face of Metro, for better or for worse. I'm the face of the thing, which is a little disappointing. But beyond that, guys, it was the man who picked me up. I wanted you to see that so you know the connection that you can have with a kid. I've got kids from, give me the picture of the little boy in Kenya. Jeff, if you will, the little boy. This is something I just was made aware of a couple of days ago. Our folks in Kenya called me. His brain is growing outside of his skull. And so my folks called me. They said, we're going to have to do something here. My girls are there now, the directors of Metro in Kenya. I know this is difficult, but this is real life. And some of you young folks, I was yelling at you guys the last couple of days. You ought to thank God every day you live where you live. Okay? Let me say it again. Younger folks, thank God that you live here, that you have a church like this, that you have folks like this, that you have pastors like you have, that you don't, you understand what I'm saying. So thanks, Jeff. I would ask that you would pray for the team that's there. They're there now. His name's Brian. And I would ask that you would pray for him. I'm not sure how I'm going to play this. Pastor and I were talking about it. We're going to be talking about some other things later that we're trying to accomplish. I don't know. It's just one of these miracle ones. Okay? I don't know if they can even do an operation to help him. And could they even do it in Kenya? Is there even folks there that are capable? We were trying to get a hold of Ben Carson because if anybody knows, or at least could connect us with somebody being because he was a pediatric brain surgeon. Great guy. For those of you that are familiar, I think he'd make a great president myself. But it's going to take a guy like that that's a non-politician to come in and do some things. So we're trying to make some connections with him. So I say this and show you this to ask you to pray for God to open the doors. Give me wisdom. Give me some discernment. I deal with this stuff a lot. You guys know I do. But it never gets easier. It just doesn't. So that's where we are. And I thank you again for your prayers, for your support. When I got shot, it was this church that I got the most emails from. I don't know anybody else around here except you guys. So I can kind of track where the information comes from. And you guys were very quick to respond. And I can't thank you enough. So thank you. I want to talk to you for a few minutes tonight. And then I'll see you all at the table. But Father, I pray that as we have a couple minutes together on this evening, that you will give me a clear mind. Give me a clear word. Lord, there is a level of adversity that all of us face and we fight. And yet, there is power in adversity. And that's what I want to try to communicate. Help me to do that in Jesus' name. Amen. I'm going to be doing 3 different messages, of course, like I always do. 2 different ones in the services tomorrow. This will be the first of 3. And let's see where this goes. Get your Bible open quickly to the book of Deuteronomy. The book of Deuteronomy. You guys know I teach Old Testament. I spend most of my study time there. And so I want to work with you for a couple of minutes on something that I found that was quite interesting. And when I find something that catches my attention, that's a truth for me, that encourages me, I like to share it with others. If there was a title for this message tonight, the title would have to be The Power of Adversity, or maybe a working title would be Keep Your Shoes Tied. Keep your shoes tied. And let's see where this takes us. If you don't have a Bible, just slip over next to a Christian. They'll have one. And we'll take a look at this. In this 33rd chapter, look at the 24th verse. They're making the allocations of the land to the tribes. Moses is divvying up the land. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the introduction with that because I think most of you understand this book here and how that happened, that the folks were given land to settle in. And in this 33rd chapter of Deuteronomy, the 24th verse, Moses is giving directions to the tribe of Asher. And he said, let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren. Let him dip his foot in oil. Don't miss this. Don't miss it. Let him dip his foot in oil, that thy shoes shall be iron and brass, and as thy days, so shall thy strength be. If you will spend time in the Old Testament, sometimes the smallest line, the smallest reference has the ability to open up information to you that can make you look at life from a totally different perspective. This seems fairly innocuous, and yet when you understand that the land where Asher was going, It was the farthest land away from where the children of Israel were. What does that mean to them and you? It means for them, my God, it means to get to the place that was given to them, that was promised to them. They were going to have to travel the farthest distance. They were going to have to go through the most struggle. The longest battle of their life was about to take place. The hardest battle of their life was about to take place. How do you prepare for the toughest battle of your life? Some of you are young. You have not gone through a lot. That's not to diminish some of the issues that maybe some of you have had as young people. But if you live long enough, life will shut your mouth. Life will shut you up. If you live long enough, you're going to go through some things. You're going to have adversity. You're going to have battles. Physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. What do you do when you've worked your guts out to raise your kids right? And that's all I need to say, because you can fill in the blanks. What do you do when the person who said they would love you all their life suddenly comes up to you and says they don't love you anymore? And you stand there and you go, but I thought. Yeah. What do you do when one day you feel pretty good? And then I'm walking in a parking lot in Nashville, Tennessee. Just got done with a meeting. I thought, man, I just ate at Arby's, but I mean, just couldn't have been that bad. I felt, and y'all, you know your body. When something feels weird, like it's not right, and I'm not talking about eating at this Greek place down the street. I'm talking about using good sense, okay? And I'm going, man, I said, I'm going to go walk it off, because, I think I can walk anything off. So I just walk up, and I'm walking around, and I'm thinking, man, this ain't working. So I got back, and I had the guys there. I thought, I think we may want to get this looked at. And I just happened to be at Vanderbilt. I mean, we came around, it was Vanderbilt right there. I thought, it says emergency. This feels like this could be an emergency. Not sure, but it feels like it has the potential to be an emergency. Drove in, they zipped me in, and they said, yep, leave your wallet and your watch with your folks. You're here. And the next morning, I had bypass. Now, the day before, I was up doing my thing and doing what I do and, having the meeting. And have you been there yet? See, if you haven't, guess what? Yeah. Look at the person next to you and say, your time's coming. You say, that sounds negative. No, it has nothing to do with negative, positive, ever ready, anything else. What it's got to do is living life. So you live life. This is where this message is extremely profound, because it was birthed out of that experience when I had to go into the hospital. I thought, hey man, I'm skinny. I got no problems. I'm good. I could eat a whole tub of Haagen-Dazs. One setting. One setting. Never put on a pound. What's that Sara Lee chocolate cake? Full of preservatives. That's why I'll live forever. I'll never die. I am so well preserved. I have eaten that stuff since I was a little kid. I mean, ate it for lunch, breakfast, because I've lived on my own, so I just eat stuff. But then one day, when you're 66, it's like, man, something doesn't feel right. Well, yeah, you bonehead. You've been eating that stuff all your life. Your whole body's plugged up with preservatives. See? So I'd like to blame somebody, but I can't, because I did it to myself. But anyways, let's get back to the message. So Asher has been assigned this plot of land, but it's the farthest away. And when you look at it on the topographical map, it is a very, not just long journey, but a very difficult journey. Mountains, rocks, snakes, A lot of scorpions in that particular area. So now they've got to get from where they are to where God wants them to be. I could quit right now. And it was worth you dragging yourself in here tonight. Just for that. How do you get from where you are to the place where you need to be, that's been allotted to you, that's been promised to you, but it's going to be a very long, rough, hard journey? Well, I guess you're going to have to be prepared. Your shoes are going to have to be iron and brass. See, there's a preparation to the process, isn't it? You don't wear normal shoes if you're going somewhere that's going to be a little difficult to get there, do you? See, sometimes when things happen to us, we are just, why is it happening to me? Shut up. Because you're going somewhere. You're being prepared. See, I never understood why my mother left me. I never understood why my sister was a prostitute. I never understood all the stuff I saw as a kid that no kid should see. Never understood it till several years ago when I've ended up now going in all these parts of the world. People drop me in the middle of the jungle. I'm good. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm all right. Dropped in the jungle in Ethiopia. I drove from Harare to the coast of Mozambique. I rented a Hertz pickup truck, and they gave me a map. They didn't tell me it was 10 years old. In Africa, they don't go into those kind of details. You get the truck. I'm looking at the map. Well, it's only that far. And because I live in New York, I think I can do anything. So I go, yeah, how hard can it be? That's when I almost got jumped by a bunch of, hi guys, you all right? Okay. Almost got jumped by a herd of baboons. Great story. I need to tell you the baboon story someday. I don't have time tonight. Some other time. It's a great story. So the shoes that you wear, you can't wear the normal shoes that these other guys are going to wear because you're going somewhere that they're not going. You're going to do something that they're not doing. You're going to have to go through something, and you're going to have to be prepared for that. And I started looking up this whole thing of the shoes here, and it's interesting. And this may not be interesting to you, but brass, as you know, is a composite of copper and zinc. But iron is kind of its own element. So isn't it interesting that they said your shoes are going to have to be iron and brass? Something that's just a natural thing, and yet something that you're going to have to put together yourself. And out of the 22 times that the word shoes is mentioned in the Bible, this is the only time this word is used in the Hebrew for shoes. And I want to try to explain this to you without boring you. It was not like a normal shoe. I did a little bit of research on this. It's pretty interesting. That the shoe was kind of beat with a hammer together that they would put their foot into. But here's the hook. See if this makes sense to you. They would take, the best thing I can show you or try to explain to you, it would be like a U-bolt. That they would put a U-bolt over the top and kind of either bend it or put a side piece of metal in it so that it was very difficult to take off your shoe on the journey. I don't know about you, but I just love stuff like this. I just love this kind of stuff. See, there was a reason for everything that's in there, folks. Everything. There is no superfluous banter in the Word of God. They're going to go to a place that God promised them, but to get there, you're going to have a special set. And these aren't Johnston & Murphys. These aren't Bostonians. This is something that you're going to have to make for yourself, and you're going to have to put them on. And once you put them on, just understand that it's really going to be tough to take them off. Why? Well, let's take a look at it. See if we can make some sense out of this. This whole thing of shoes here is interesting. So they were going somewhere. They'd been assigned there. Nobody else was going there except them. And the journey was the most difficult part. And if they were not prepared, they weren't going to make it. So, what does that mean? This Hebrew word here, manal, for the shoe. It's where we get the English word manual, but it's this unique little thing that's created. And if you want to know why this is important, and if you don't want to read it now, mark Deuteronomy 25, 5 through 10. It's a very interesting, I don't know, do I need to read it too? Maybe I need to. Let me do it real quick. I got time. All right, let me read it real quick, and then y'all can read it later. Because this gets into, it's a little technical, it's a little theological, but in that 25th chapter, in the 5th verse, it says, your brethren dwell together, and one of them dies, okay? And he has no child. The wife of the dead man will not marry a stranger. She will first of all ask her husband's brother if he will marry her. This was kind of typical in those days. So if the guy dies, follow me now. I know this is not real exciting, but I'm going somewhere. Right now I'm just driving around. We're going somewhere in a minute. Okay. So the guy dies. So the widow goes to the brother, says, look, you want to marry me or not? So let's go down to the 9th verse. And if the guy doesn't want to marry this lady, and then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders and loose his shoe from off his foot, spit in his face. That's a nice touch. And answer and say, so shall it be done unto that man that will not build up his brother's house, and his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that has his shoe loosed. Why is that important to you? Let me explain. Remember when Bush 43 was over there and the guy threw the shoe at him? See, there is stuff in that culture that it's not American culture. Okay? The shoes play a very large part of that culture and how people think. So what happens here is, if this man would not marry his brother's wife, then she, in public, spit in his face, took off his shoe, because that was indicative to everyone around that he made a decision to stop, my God. He made a decision in public to stop the family bloodline lineage right there, and he would be embarrassed for that, because the family ends there if he was not willing to carry on his brother's name. Make sense? See the importance of this whole thing with the shoe. That's why Moses said, you're going somewhere, you're going to a place that's assigned to you, but you're going to have a long, hard journey. And if you don't have these kind of shoes, and you get tired, and you get beat up, and you feel like you can't go the distance, and you can't do the journey, and you stop, and you take these shoes off, your promise and your future and your family's future ends that day. So I'm going to have you make some shoes that you're really, really going to have to work at and really think through before you make a decision to take them off. It was about keeping the family and the promise of God alive. If you don't get to the place where you need to go, if you don't get there, that whole promise that I have made to you is over. What does that have to do with us? We are living, folks, and you know this. I made a reference to it in the beginning. We live in the greatest nation in this world. I think all of you believe that. A lot of people hate America, but they all want to come live here. It's amazing to me. How does that work? Okay. Birthed out of biblical foundations. You know that, if you know your history. Birthed out of men and women that want to serve God. And yet, as this thing has evolved over the years, as we said earlier, a lot of changes, a lot of battles, a lot of struggles. What is going to make the difference in the next generation? It's this very principle right here. The adversity, and I don't always like to use myself as an example, but I think because after some of this bypass and some of this stuff, I was forced to think along this line. And I've been here enough, some of you know, whether it was the time when I was left on the corner up until the constant fights from the time I picked up our first Sunday school teacher who was gang raped on top of one of the buildings in Brooklyn. It was just a month after that, we found one of our staff members dead behind the church on Sunday morning. We had closed down a crack house across the street from the church. One of the dealers tried to get to me, kill me. He couldn't kill me, so he killed one of my guys. Found the staff member dead behind the church. It was after that I got hit with the brick. You guys have heard me talk about that when I was blind in this eye for 3 months. Have you ever noticed on this road of adversity, it's never just one thing? You ever notice that? Because most of you are tough enough to deal with one thing. It's like, yeah, okay, I got it, I'm good. But it's always boom, boom. It comes in multiples, doesn't it? And it's all designed to get you to do what? To take your shoes. Oh, you're getting it now. You're slow, but you're worth waiting for. I love you guys. Love you. It's all designed to get you to sit down, take your shoes off, and say, you know what? I'm just tired. I'm tired of the fight. I'm tired of the battle. I'm tired of constantly feeling, because you can't see beyond the battle. Because as some of you know, because some of you have been in battles, when you're in the battle, that's all you can see. Because it's in your face, it's right there, no matter what it is. If it's a spiritual battle, you know it's on you all the time. If it's a mental thing where you're constantly, oh, man, I got to figure this out. If it's a financial thing, you know what finances will do, or the lack thereof. Okay? Physical. I remember when I broke my hip several years ago. Okay? So I got a metal rod from here to here. I got metal all over. You ought to see me at the metal detectors. Man, they just explode. Terrorist, terrorist, terrorist. So the day after, because what they do, and for those of you who know the operation, they take the femur outside, they take a drill, and they cut the marrow out. They drill the marrow out, and then they take a rod, and they pound the rod in the inside of your bone where the marrow was. Okay? You want me to explain it a little more? No, is that good? Y'all got the picture? Okay, good. I like that part of it. So the next day, they make you stand up. Like the next day. Like I'm thinking, okay, give me 2 days. No. The next day, she comes and goes, all right, Pastor, you get to stand up. And I'm going, you know what the response is. I can't. Because come on, man. She said, no, you have to stand up. She said, right, you have to stand up now. Okay, I'll try. No, you will have to do better than try. Okay. So now, day after that, we're in the first rehab, physical therapy thing. So we're sitting in the wheelchairs, and the first thing we got, we got these little balls, okay, that you hold in your lap. And she said, okay, now there you have to turn. Now that seems pretty simple. Now, I feel like I'm pretty tough. I've got a pretty good tolerance for pain. But let me explain something to you. There's pain, and then there's this pain, okay? And I'm going, and I'm crying like a girl. I mean, crying like a girl. It was embarrassing. Just like a little girl. It was me and another old guy. He's about my age. And we're trying to do this, and we're screaming and crying. And the guy next to me, he's from Connecticut, right? And he looks at the physical therapist and says, I can't do this. I'm leaving. And the therapist, I'll never forget this, the therapist looks at him and says, if you quit now, you will never walk again. And I'm sitting there holding my little exercise ball, and I'm just watching. I'm just listening. Okay? And the guy says, I can't, my God, I can't take the pain. Interesting. And I watched him roll out in that wheelchair, went to the payphone, called his sister. A couple hours later, she came from Hartford, came down, picked him up. And as I watched him roll out, then the therapist turns to me, and he goes, Reverend, what would you like to do? I want to walk. I want to walk. He goes, okay, then let's get you started in the process. You hear what he said? Let's get you started in the process that you're going to have to go through to get to where you want to go. And now, come on. Come on, Jesus. God, you knew I was, come on. You knew I was going to say that. See, you would never know that I'm full of metal. Okay, well, you might. Some things are a dead giveaway. But you guys see what I'm saying? See, there was a process that I had to go through, and as I kind of got the feel for it, you know what I did? I overdid it. I overdid the rehab. I had those rubber bands, you know, that they give you, and you put, and you do all this. I had two guys working with me, and I would scream in pain working on this thing because I made up my mind. I wasn't going to go out this way. I wasn't going to go out like this. I still had something to do. I still had somewhere to go. I had places that I had to go. I knew that God had put something in me, and now it's on me to decide if I'm going to do everything I can to put on a pair of shoes, to do something that's going to help me get to the land that He has prepared for me. So I ask you guys tonight, do you know where you're going? Do you know where you're going? Is there something burning inside you? Because I don't know. Some of you I know pretty well. Some of you I don't. Some of you young folks, what are you going to do? Some of you older folks, you're at a good spot in life now. You can kind of make your decisions. Where do you want to go? The existential question, isn't it? Yeah, kind of. What do you want to do? Do you want to wear the same shoes that everybody else wears? It's much easier, isn't it? You can order them online. You can't order these shoes online. You don't order these. This ain't in a catalog somewhere. And you can decide that no matter how rough the terrain looks, no matter how painful the journey is going to be, and no matter whether you think you understand it or not, you say, but I know, folks. I know. Jeff, give me that picture of Brian again, the little boy with the brain issue there. If you could do that, please. When I got this picture a couple of days ago, Why is it? Why does it seem like that we are at the right place at the right time when this kind of stuff happens? And everybody's throwing up their hands saying, this kid ain't going to make it. I don't know, folks. I don't know why I've been placed in situations like this. But I know this, that there have been moments all along the journey that I wanted to sit down and it would have been a whole lot easier, folks. It would have been a whole lot easier to sit down somewhere when that guy said, we'll give you a condo in Vail. That sounds like a pretty nice place. Another guy said, we've got a place up in the Alps by Lake Geneva in Switzerland. That sounds like a nicer place. And you know what? After I had this bypass, I thought, man, I'm 65 years old. I've given ministry all I got. I don't feel like I got nothing left. You ever feel like you got nothing left? Like you're giving all you got, and it never seems like it's enough. And I remember coming out of the hospital, and I sat there outside of Vanderbilt, and I thought, what the heck? Man, I gave this thing everything I had. And when they cut you open and you guys know how it goes. They pry your ribs open and you got some guy you don't even know holding your heart in his hand. That's a little freaky all by itself. I don't know this guy. What you doing? But it didn't matter, did it? And now I'm sitting there outside the hospital. That's why with this little guy right here. You understand what I'm saying? And I had to make a decision the day I walked out of that hospital. Because people were already talking again. Hey, maybe it's time you retire. And I took a deep breath. And I stood up. And it was a long walk through that parking lot at Vanderbilt Hospital. But I put my shoulders back and I said, not today. Not today. Not today. Not today. You've got a journey, my friends. You're going somewhere. God has predestined a place for you to be. But I'm going to tell you this. The adversity will be hard. And the more you accomplish in life and the greater opportunities he gives you, the tougher the adversity. So, you have to decide. Do you want to stop and take your shoes off? Or do you want to just decide tonight? Do you want to decide tonight that now I want to wear a different pair of shoes and I'm keeping them on? I'm keeping them on, and I'm going to get to the place. It's a long journey, but I'm getting to the place that God has planned for me. Father, I love you. I thank you for your word that still, after all these years, speaks to us. And Lord, we look at this tribe of Asher. They didn't understand at the moment, probably, why they couldn't wear the same shoes as everybody else. But once they got in the battle, once they got on the journey, and they went through the process, that they understood then. So in the quietness of this moment, open the eyes of our heart, Lord. Open our eyes. Let us see that as you have laid out a place for us, a position for us, that Lord, somehow, some way, we put on a different set of shoes tonight. Different set of shoes. A little bulky, a little tough to walk sometimes, but it's all preparation. And it'll make us the person that we need to be to get to the place that you prepped for us. And we're going to be tempted to go find a nice little spot to sit down. Not today. Not today. To see you high and lifted up, oh, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, 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 to see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. And we sing, holy, 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 holy. Jesus, Jesus, I want to see you. Stand to your feet. Come on. And we sing,